In December of 1831, Mississippi College became the first co-ed college in the United States to give a degree to a woman. Since then, women have been attending schools with men, which has allowed equality between the sexes to be heightened greatly. But what happens when we split schools by gender? And is it actually detrimental to how we live and exist as a species? Ever since I began kindergarten, I have been educated in the same classroom as boys and girls. I've made many friends and lifelong acquaintances with people of either gender, and I was taught to get along with and coexist with everyone, no matter their age or gender. But with the rising popularity of same-sex schools in America, I've come to realize that the issue of this education style may actually be more important than I initially thought. The topic of same-sex schooling has been around for a while, and according to Chen 2020, ever since 1995, there has been a 2,000% increase in the same-sex schools across the country, and those numbers are only continuing to grow. But why should this be a concern? The answer is simple. The development of children and young adults happens primarily in a school setting, and without peers that are different, for example in gender, they will not learn to cooperate with others. When you have children of your own, you will want them to learn and develop these valuable lessons, but they can't if they're sheltered due to their gender. In this speech, I will be explaining to you the expenses of maintaining these specific schools, the psychological result of same-gendered schools, and the social toll that it can take on students. After this speech, I want you to realize that the issue of same-gendered schooling is something that needs to be acknowledged. But I don't just want you to simply acknowledge it. I want you to stay informed and share this information with everyone, because you could help change the world for the better. First, I will begin with the issues of cost. Same-gendered schooling is expensive, but why is it so costly? In general, most same-sex schools are private. This means that the school is not funded by the government, and the guardians of the students must pay a tuition to allow their children to go to this specific school. The issue of cost may not apply to some, but a vast majority of people do not have the funds readily available to send their children to these schools that are gender-specific, as the cost of these private schools can range anywhere from $5,000 to $25,000, according to Fuscaldo 2019. Another disadvantage to same-sex schooling is the psychological toll that it takes on students. Single-sex schools can cause psychological harm on the students that attend and graduate from these establishments. One example of this claim is the stereotypes that are heavily weighed into inside of these specific types of schools. The girls' classrooms are painted bright, pastelish colors and girly colors, and the boys' classrooms are blues, grays, and boyish colors. The books that the children are expected to read are also stereotypical, such as the girls reading mainly romance and the boys reading mainly nonfiction. The classes are also vastly different, which can result in the boys lacking creative thinking and imagination, while the girls can end up actually lacking the ability to thrive under pressure. The differences in this style of schooling between either gendered schools show that these schools can actually end up indirectly promoting sexism. Another way that these schools can encourage mental health problems is the segregation of the sexes. In most cases, girls and boys in their own respective schools will begin to make inferences about children of the opposite gender. The lack of experience with people of the opposite gender will lead to stereotypes and an unhealthy view on the peers of the opposite gender. The last reason why same-gendered schools are not helpful is because of the skills that the students will end up lacking when they get to the real world. The main reason why gender-segregated schools end up having problems is the amount of children and teens who don't develop the proper social skills to be ready when they're done in their schooling environment. In school, children learn, develop, and grow into young adults. They're taught to get along with each other and create relationships that will last a lifetime. But in some same-sex schools, many learning opportunities are taken away. Now, when I say learning opportunities, I don't mean math or English. I'm talking about the experiences and lessons that are learned when students are placed into a new or unfamiliar setting. The interactions with peers who are different by race, age, or gender strengthens one's mutual respect for their peers and social skills. And in a setting where everyone is segregated by gender, there's no opportunity to learn how to coexist and work with people who are different from you. And if they don't have the experience to handle situations with men and women in the real world, they'll not be as prone to success in their lives. In a co-ed classroom where girls and boys learn and interact together, they're better prepared for real-world problems. Because once they've left the classroom, they have the tools and they're ready for a world where men and women must get along. Examples of the long-term effects that same-sex schooling have are numerous. But according to Anderson 2019, it's been proven that boys taught in single-sex schools are more likely to be divorced from their partner later in life, if they've attended a co-ed school. The separations of boys and girls during their childhood has obviously been proven by this statistics to have long-term negative effects that plague them throughout their life. And it's not only men who suffer with the aftermath of the same-sex schooling, it's women as well. According to Rubin 2018, women who attend same-sex schools have a higher chance of experiencing mixed gender anxiety. Mixed gender anxiety is an unfamiliarity or fear towards interactions with people of the opposite gender. In this speech, I explained the reasons why same-sex schools are not helpful to the people who attend them. I spoke about the cost of schooling, the negative psychological effects of gendered segregated schooling, and the societal issues that are present for years after the schooling. Same-sex schooling is something that has been around for thousands of years, but the segregation of genders in a school setting is proving to be counterproductive, and it's the practice that must be stopped. The psychological and societal consequences of gendered schooling are very harmful, and staying aware of the risks of sending your children to a gendered school is extremely important. I want you to remember the consequences and inform people of the risk of gendered schooling.